Good afternoon. In today's class, we will be seeing the concept of minimum Hamming distance. So, in yesterday's class, we have seen what was Hamming distance. So, Hamming distance is basically the distance between two words, that is, and the number of differences between the corresponding bits. So, we even have seen an example, that is, to find the Hamming distance, we have to XOR both the numbers and then count the number of ones in it. So whatever is the number of ones will be the Hamming distance. So here we have number of ones is 2. The result of the XOR is 0, 1, 1, and in this 0, 1, 1 we have two ones. So the Hamming distance is 2. Now the next case is the minimum Hamming distance. So the minimum Hamming distance, basically we use Hamming distance for error detection and error correction. That is, the measurement for that is the minimum Hamming distance. That is, we use the concept of minimum Hamming distance for both the things. So what is the minimum Hamming distance? So in a set of words, suppose if we have a set of words, then the minimum Hamming distance is the smallest Hamming distance between all possible pairs. So we have to find the small distances between all the possible pairs, and then we can have the minimum Hamming distance. Now the notation for the minimum Hamming distance is D min. D is for Hamming distance, and we're writing the subscript min for minimum Hamming distance. So to find the value, we need to find the Hamming distances between all the words and select the smallest one. So we will be taking our earlier table actually as an example. So yeah, we will be using this table, and in this table, we will try to find the minimum Hamming distance of all these set of words or all the set of code words. So let's do that. Yeah. So we need to find we first need to find all Hamming distances. So we have 4 words. So we will have all the combinations in this way. So first we need to find the distance between 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. Let me write the 4 code words that we have in that table. So first we have 0, 0, 0. Then we have 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, and 1, 1, 0. Now for this we need to find the minimum distance. For finding the minimum distances, we need to find what is the distance between each one of them and then select the minimum. Okay. So first and foremost, we are taking these two. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. So let's just XOR it over here. So if both are different, then we will get a 1. And if both are same, it is a 0. So there are two ones. So the distance is 2. Next, we have to take these two. 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1. Again, we will have 1, 0, 1. And it has two ones. So the distance is 2. Then again, these two. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0. Here one we will get 1, 1, 0. Distance is 2. Then we have to take these two. 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1. And here the distance will be 1. Yeah, so it will be 1, 1, 0. So this is again 2. And then finally, we have to take these two. 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. And the distance is 2 again. So the minimum distance as we see is 2. So in this case, it is 2 only. Now we will take the next example. So for the next example, we will take the next table that we had earlier. So for that, I will just do it over here. So the numbers we had were 0, 0, 0, 0, and then 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. Then we have to XOR it. Okay, before that, I'll just write all the code words we had in the table. So first was 0, 0, 0. Then next we had 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. After that, we had 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. And then finally 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So these were the 4. So again, we will have 6 distances. And for this one, we will get obviously, so the distance is 2. So d of, we have to write it in this way, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1 is equal to, sorry, not 2, 1, 2, 3. So we will have it over here, 3. Next, for these two, we will have the distance as 4. I'm directly writing now. You can easily find it out. 4. Then for this one, the first and the last one, d of 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. We will again have 3. Okay. Then for the next one, that is the first and the second, second and the third, and then we are finding second and fourth. So let me write it over here, d of 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, and then 1, 1, 0. So for this, we will have the distances. So look over here, these only the second one and the second one in this case are the same. Rest of all are different. So we will get, sorry, this one is similar, and then this, and over here, fourth one. So this one, so the distance is 3. Then again, we will have to find d of 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. In this case, different, different. This is also different. Only the last one is the same. So the distance will be 4. And then finally, the last two, let me write it over here, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So in this case, we will have the minimum distance, the Hamming distance of 3. Now, on all this set of code words, we have to check the minimum. So what is the minimum one, which is 3? So the dmin in this case is 3. So over here, this is the example. The minimum Hamming distance of the coding scheme in table 2.2. That is the next table we saw in the previous class. So here the minimum Hamming distance is 3. The same thing that I found out. Okay. So now, to guarantee the detection of up to S errors in all cases, the minimum Hamming distance in a block code must be dmin is equal to S plus 1. Now, what does this mean? So whenever we are checking whenever we are detecting the errors actually, so for detection of the errors, the distance should be S plus 1. So suppose if we want to detect up to 3 errors, then the Hamming distance in the block code must be 3 plus 1, 4. That is the minimum Hamming distance must be 4. Then in that case, we can detect up to 3 errors. So the code word size is n, and the data word size is k, and the minimum Hamming distance is dmin. So according to that, a coding scheme is written as, so how do we create our code word nk, c of nk with dmin? Okay, so in this case, so for our first example actually, for this example, we can write this as, so our code word was of size 3 and data word is of size 2, and our minimum Hamming distance in this case is 2. So this is a coding scheme. We call this entire thing as a coding scheme. Okay, and the second coding scheme that we have just seen is C of, we have the code word of size 5, the data word is again of size 2 only, and the minimum Hamming distance is equal to 3. So that is the another coding scheme. Now, so for error detection or correction, there is a relationship between the Hamming distance and the errors that occur during the transmission. So whenever our code word is corrupted during the transmission, let me just clear it. So yeah, whenever a code word is corrupted during transmission, the Hamming distance between the sent and the received code words is the number of bits affected by the error. Basically, Hamming distance between the received code word and the sent code word is the number of bits that is corrupted. So suppose if I am sending code word as 0000, this is the code word which is the sender is sending. and the receiver is receiving 01101. Okay, so here what is the difference between, or the Hamming distance between these two? The Hamming distance is 3 bits. Okay, so the Hamming distance is 3 bits. That means 3 bits are in error. So the Hamming distance between the two is, if I write it in this way, d of 0, 0 and 01101, then it will be equal to 3. Now, what should be the minimum distance for error detection? So in that case, if we want to be able to detect up to S errors, then if S errors occur during the transmission, the Hamming distance between the sent code word and the received code word is S, right? So if our code is up to detect up to S errors, the minimum distance should be S plus 1. Uh, why are we saying it should be S plus 1? Because it should not match a valid code word. So the reason it should be plus 1 is it should not match a valid code word. So for that reason, the minimum Hamming distance should be S plus 1. So now the distances are not enough, S plus 1, for the receiver to accept it as valid. So the error will be detected. So a code with d min is equal to S plus 1 may be able to detect more than S errors. So usually if I'm saying the minimum Hamming distance is 3, then it may detect up to 2 errors. Sometimes it may even be able to detect more than this 3 errors, or maybe it can detect 4 errors, but only in few cases. So this is only in the case, only in a few cases. So this is basically an important point, that is to guarantee the detection of up to F errors, the minimum Hamming distance in a block code must be d min is equal to S plus 1. Now, the minimum Hamming distance for our first code scheme is 2. The first one that we have seen, C of 3, 2. That is, our code word is of size 3 and the data word is of size 2. So this code guarantees detection of only a single error. That is, for example, if the third code word 101 is sent and only one error occurs, the received code word does not match any valid code word. Suppose if I am sending 101, okay, and in this case, if there are, if it is having two errors means it might be either 011, or it might be either, we may change the last two, so it may be 100. Okay, so both of these, the distance d is equal to 2, right? D is equal to 2, 011 and 100. Not 10 actually. We need to have distance 2, right? So for that case, we may 110. Yeah, 110. So in both the cases, if you notice, if you remember our table, these were the code words. The code words were 000, 011, 101, 110. So we are sending this one. The sender has selected the code word 101. And there is a mismatch and there is a transmission error. There is an error during transmission, and it is either sending 011 or it is either sending 110. That is, the difference between, or the distance, Hamming distance is 2. In that case, the receiver will receive either of these two. So when it receives 011, it will go back to the table and check whether it has 011. So yes, we have 011 in our table. So it will think that this is a valid code word. The same thing will happen in this case. So both of them are valid code words, and the receiver may think that the sender has sent either of these two. So in that case, this is the reason we are not able to detect. So here the minimum Hamming distance is 2. That means we may be able to detect only a single error. So in case of 101, if we had sent 001, now you see that this is not in our table, and when it receives this, when the receiver receives this code word, it will know that, okay, so this is not in my table, so this is not a valid code word. Hence we are saying that whenever the minimum Hamming distance is S plus 1, the receiver will be able to detect S error. So in this case, the minimum Hamming distance is 2, means the receiver will be able to detect only one error. Okay, so this is the example. Now in the second case, our minimum Hamming distance was 3. So that code can detect up to 2 errors. Again, the same thing, you can take an example and create an Hamming distance of 3 and check. We see that when any of the valid code words is sent, 2 errors create a code word which is not in the table of valid code words. So the receiver cannot be fooled. However, some combination of 3 errors changes valid code word to another valid code word. So sometimes it may be able to detect 3 errors, but it is not usually the case. So to guarantee the correction of this up to T errors in all cases, the minimum Hamming distance in a block code must be 2T plus 1. Now what does this mean? Suppose if you want to detect one error, then the minimum Hamming distance should be, for definite correction of errors, then the minimum Hamming distance should be 2 into 1 plus 1, which is 3. So guaranteeing the correction, that is definite correction of one error, the minimum Hamming distance should be 3 in that case. So now we will look at the next topic, which is cyclic redundancy check. So before we go, I just want to highlight one point over here. That is, in this case, we have the correction, that is earlier, in the earlier cases, we have seen the detection, that is to guarantee the detection of up to S errors, minimum Hamming distance should be S plus 1. And to correct the codes, we need the minimum Hamming distance to be 2T plus 1. That is, earlier case was error detection. In the case of error detection, if we want to detect S errors, Hamming distance should be S plus 1. D min is equal to S plus 1. If we want to correct error correction, that is, if we want to correct T errors, then the minimum Hamming distance should be 2T plus 1. Okay, now, so here we have an example for the same. So suppose a code scheme has a Hamming distance of D min is equal to 4. What is the error detection and correction capability? So obviously we know error detection will be 3. Okay, and what will be the error correction? Error correction will be, this is 2T plus 1. So 2T plus 1 is 4. 2T is equal to 3. T is equal to 3 by 2, which is 1.5. So basically it can correct only one error. Okay, so it can correct up to one error. In other words, if this code is used for error correction, part of its capability is wasted. Why? Because for error correction, we need to have odd minimum distance. Okay, because 2T plus 1, if it is 3, then 2T is equal to 2 and T is equal to 1. That is, it can correct up to one error. If 2T plus 1 is equal to 5, then 2T is equal to 4, T is equal to 2. Here in this case, when the minimum distance is 5, it can correct up to 2 errors. So for error correction, for the error correction capability to be effectively used, we need to have odd minimum distances. If it is even, then some part of its capability is wasted. Now the next topic is cyclic redundancy check. So for cyclic redundancy check, basically, what do you mean by cyclic redundancy check? So here, first and foremost, we need to know something about. So let's see the terms individually, then we will see the entire summary of this topic. So basically, cyclic, we have something known as cyclic codes. Now, what are these cyclic codes? Cyclic codes are special block codes with extra property. Now, what is that property it has? So the cyclic redundancy check, it basically what it does is it will try to detect the errors. So it is for error detecting, and it can also be used for error correction, but it is commonly used for error detection. And over here, whenever we have cyclic redundancy check, now redundant, you know what are redundant bits, right? So redundant bits are the extra bits that are added. Now, whenever we are talking about the extra bits that are added, in this case, we have cyclic codes, which are special block codes with an extra property, that is, the codes can be cyclically shifted. So we can shift. So suppose if we have 0, 1, 1, we can shift it to make 1, 0, 1, or we can shift it again to make it 1, 1, 0. So the codes are cyclically shifted to create another code word. So this is actually important for both error detection and error correction. So basically, CRC is the we call the cyclic redundancy check as CRC also. So in this case, we know that whenever we are sending a message, we add redundant bits, and whenever we add the redundant bits, those bits or the extra bits enable us to check or detect or correct the error. So to the message, we add the redundant bits, which will enable the receiver to detect whether there is an error or not. So similarly, in CRC also we are going to generate some bits, and those bits are known as redundant bits, and the bits specifically are known as CRC bits, which can enable the receiver to detect error. So basically, it is used for error detection. Now next we will be seeing. So cyclic codes are basically special linear block codes with one extra property. Now, in a cyclic code, if the code word is cyclically shifted, the result is another code word. Now, what is this linear block code? Now, the linear block code is simply whenever we need to find, whenever we are talking about block codes or codes in general, which has a size of k bits, then almost all the block codes that we are using today belong to a subset known as linear block codes. Now, what is a linear block code basically? A linear block code is a code in which the exclusive OR of two valid code words creates another valid code word. So, suppose if we have two valid code words. So in our earlier example, the code words we had valid code words were 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. Then if we XOR this, that is the exclusive OR these two code words, then suppose we are doing this, then it is giving us the same result, that is this is a valid code word again. So basically, whenever we are performing exclusive OR on two valid code words, we will get the result is a valid code word. So those linear block codes, these kind of block codes have one extra property, that is we can cyclically shift or rotate, and then we will get another code word. So now we will look at the cyclic redundancy checksum. So basically, cyclic redundancy check, why do we need that? Why do we need those cyclic codes? We need the cyclic codes to correct the errors. So this is used in the networks such as LANs and WANs. Now the CRC error detection method treats the packet of data to be transmitted as a large polynomial. So if we will have the CRC as in terms of polynomial, that is x power n plus x power n minus 1 and so on till x power 0 or x power x power 0. Now the transmitter takes the message polynomial and using polynomial arithmetic divides it by a given generating polynomial. So basically a generator is there which uses the data or the message polynomial and divides it. The quotient is discarded, but the remainder is attached to the end of the message. So whenever we are dividing, we will get two things. One is the quotient and the other is the remainder. So in this case, the quotient is left out and the remainder is added to a message. So now the message with the remainder is transmitted to the receiver. So message plus remainder is transmitted to the receiver. Now the receiver again divides the message and remainder by the same generating polynomial. So again the receiver itself will use the same generator and it divides the entire thing, whatever it has received. And it will check if the remainder is not if a remainder not equal to 0. So when you see now message plus reminder, when it is divided by the same generating polynomial, it should give 0, right? So if the remainder is 0, then there is no error. If the remainder is 0, then there is no error. But if the remainder is not equal to 0, then in that case, there was an error during the transmission. Okay. So now, before we proceed further with this, I would like to explain it in another format. So basically, here, if we are seeing the properties, or if you want to see the design of the encoder and the decoder, CRC, encoder and decoder, then on the sender side, so I'll write the sender side over here. On the sender side, I will be having the encoder. What is the encoder? What does it do? It will take the data word. Suppose if we have a data word, then that data word, it is given to a generator. So here this data word is passed to a generator, and the generator, what it will do is it will take a divisor. Now which divisor is taken, that we will study later, but basically the generator takes a divisor and it divides the data word. Now whatever the remainder it gets, or the whatever remainder is got, that is added to the data word. So data word plus remainder, this entire thing is now known as the code word. Okay, whatever data plus the remainder is the code word. Now this is sent to the receiver. So along a transmission line, we send it to the receiver. So here I am now writing the receiver side. Now in the case of the receiver, we have the code word which is received. Okay, that code word is again passed to a checker. With the same divisor, the checker will divide the code word that it has received. Now, in this case, it will have two scenarios. One scenario is the remainder is 0. If the remainder is 0, then the transmission is correct and the data word is given to the receiver. So data word is accepted basically. Now, if the remainder is not equal to 0, then the data word is discarded. So this is the CRC encoder and decoder technique. So now we will see it with the help of an example actually. So before that, I'll show you the actual diagram. So now this is the sender side. So on the sender side, as you see, we have the encoder, and the encoder is encoder takes the data word A3. So basically, the bits are, if we have a 4-bit word, then the bits are written as A3, A2, A1, and A0, and those bits are being passed to the generator, and we are adding 3 additional zeros, and basically, and we are giving a divisor D3, D2, D1, and D0. Now the same divisor is again given to the decoder, hence we are writing the term shared on it. And then whatever remainder we have got, R2, R1, and R0, it is added to your data word and sent as a code word. Now we are sending it or transmitting it, and the transmission may be unreliable. So in that case, we get the code word B3, B2, B1, and B0. And again, this is the remainder that has been added. It will be passed to the checker. Now, if in the case of checker, whatever if it receives, if it gets the remainder as 0, the remainder is basically called a syndrome over here. And if it is 0, it is accepted. If it is not 0, it is the data word is discarded, or the entire message is discarded. So this is with respect to the CRC encoder and decoder. Now we will see an example for the same. So over here, we are taking a data word as 101110, and we are dividing it. The divisor is 1101. Now how do we do this or perform over here? So in the encoder, the data word has, before that, in this case, the data word has k bits and the code word has n bits, so the total is 7, right? And what is the size of the data word? So we add the remainder, that is 3 over here. So here we have 4 bits, and in total we are adding 3 zeros. So that is, we are augmenting or adding 3 zeros to the right hand side of the word. Now that, and this n bit result is fed into the generator, and the generator uses a n minus k plus 1 divisor, which is predefined. So we have to use n minus k plus 1. I'll just take an example once again, but before that, let's just summarize this. So the generator divides this entire augmented data word. Why am I saying augmented? Is because we're adding 3 zeros. So these 3 zeros are being added and given to the generator. Now to this, we are performing modulo 2 division. That is, again, we are using the exclusive OR concept. I'll show it to you once. And the quotient is discarded, and we are using the remainder. Now the decoder receives, it may receive the correct code word, or it may receive a corrected code word. So that is fed to the checker, which is similar to a generator, and the remainder produced by the checker is a syndrome, that is of 3 bits, n minus k, okay, and which is fed to a logical analyzer, and the analyzer has a simple function. If the syndrome bits are all zeros, or the remainder is all zeros, then the code word is accepted, and in the code word it takes the first 4 bits as data word. If the syndrome is not 0, then it is discarded. Okay, so now for this same, we have an example. So here we are performing division, and then at the end we are getting a remainder. Now that remainder is known as a checksum or CRC, which is added to your code word. So this is your data word 10111, and 3 zeros are added. Here we are adding the code word 011. So here we are adding this checksum 011 at the end, and then again we are using the same divisor and dividing it, and at the end the syndrome or the remainder is all 0, then the code word is accepted. So now for the same, we will take another example and try to perform the division in the CRC first encoder. So we are first doing the encoder side. So first and foremost, what is our data word? Data word is 1001. This is the data word. So now, also one more thing, the divisor is already predefined. So in this case, the divisor is 1011. And what we have to do to the data word, we have to add 3 zeros or augment it with 3 zeros. 001, 000. So this part is added, or we even call it as augmented data word. Okay, now first and foremost, we have to divide it. So how do we perform? If on the right hand side is basically, in the case, it is very similar to what you do in decimal division or normal division. And in each step, what we do is we XOR the 4 bits of the dividend, and the result of the XOR operation is basically 3 bits. So let me show you the procedure directly over here. So first and foremost, if the leftmost bit is 1, then in that case, what we will do is we will directly write 1 over here. Leftmost bit over here is 1. So we will write 1 over here and copy the same thing here, 1011. Okay. And now after we get 1011, what will we have to perform XOR over here. So we will perform XOR. So 1 1 will give us 0, and then 0 0 will give us 0 0 will also give us. So we have to leave this first bit, okay, and then from here we have to start. So 0 0 will give us, one second, yeah. So 0 0 will give us a 0, 0 1 will give us 1 again, and then 1 1 will give us a 0. So after that we have to pull this bit down. So this will be 0 1 0 0. Now the leftmost bit, what is it? It is beginning with 0. So we have to write 0 over here and write all zeros. And now we have to leave this first bit, and from here we have to begin. So 1 0 will give us 0, 1 0, and then again 0. And we have to pull this bit down, that is the second 0 from the augmented data word. So now this first leftmost bit is 1, so we have to write 1 over here, and then we have to write 1 0 1 1. Okay, now 1 1 we have to leave it. So from here we have to begin. 0 0 will give us 0, 0 1 is 1, 0 1 is 1 again. Pull this last bit over here, so we get 0 1 1 0. Now finally for this, it is beginning with 0, so we have to divide it 0 0 0 0. Now 1 1 0. This is the remainder. Okay. Now once we have got this as the remainder, to the data word. So this is our data word. Let me write it. So to the data word 1001, we have to add this the remainder, which is 110. So this is our remainder, and this is the data word. Now this will be sent to the receiver. Now on the receiver side, what will happen? Let's see this once again. So on the receiver side, we will have, we will see now. So we have received, suppose if we have received the code word 10011110, and we have received the code word 100110. So this is the correct code word, right? In the case of correct code word, the remainder will be 0, and this is the incorrect code word, incorrect. So in this case, the remainder will be not equal to 0, remainder. Now what should be the divisor? The divisor should be 1011, again the same thing we use, and now we will write this 1001110. Okay, so this is your code word. Now divide it once again in the same way as I have shown you, and at the end you will in this case get the remainder, or we even call it the syndrome. Syndrome is 000. So in the case when the syndrome is 000, it will take the first 4 characters as a data word. In this case, we won't get the syndrome as 000. In fact, we get it as 011. You can verify it. So when we get it as 011, here in this case, the data word or your entire thing is discarded. Basically, it is not accepted by the receiver. In this case, it will be accepted by the receiver. Now, one more thing to be understood is the division that we do over here is not complicated. It is same to what we do in our general decimal division. The only thing is whenever we are performing in the case of decimal division, suppose if I am taking 17 divided by, or 27 divided by 2, in that case what we do is 1 times 2 and we subtract it. In the case of subtraction, over here we are using the XOR operation. As we have seen, we are supposed to use modulo to arithmetic, and we are supposed to use XOR operations always. So here we use the XOR operation in this binary division that we are doing in the case of CRC and Hamming distances. All right. So that's it. The entire thing is same. So you can perform the division for the code words on the decoder side. So this will be the decoder side or the receiver side. Okay. So with this, Actually, now once we have done this, now we will see how the polynomial implementation. So in the first page, in the first slide of CRC, we have seen that we use polynomial implementation. So cyclic codes basically use polynomial implementation. So we will see that. So basically, a better way to understand cyclic codes and how they can be analyzed is to represent them as polynomials. So whenever we are talking about polynomials, a pattern of zeros and ones can be represented as a polynomial. So now to prepare for this transmission, what we have to do, the power of each term shows the position of the bit, and the coefficient value, the coefficient shows the value of the bit. So first and foremost, we will see an example for the same. And so over here, suppose if we have a code word or a CRC as 1000, so 4 zeros and then 11. Now it shows it is the binary pattern. And now for the polynomial representation, what is the power over here? Suppose if we are changing it to decimal, then we will write it as 2 power 0, 2 power 1, and so on. So here we are supposed to take the powers, and instead of 2, we will be writing it as x power 0, x power 1, x square, x cube, x power 4, x power 5, and x power 6. Let me just denote it with the arrows for which bit we are using which power. Okay. Now, also, one more thing to be understood is the coefficient. In this case, what should be the coefficient? Since we have a 1 over here, so it will be 1x power 6 plus 0x power 5 plus 0x power 4 plus 0x power 3 plus 0x square plus 1x power 1 plus 1x power 0. So it is basically written as x power 6 plus x plus 1. So this is the notation, polynomial notation of this binary pattern. Now, in the same case, if we are suppose writing x power 23 plus x cube plus 1. Now, how will be the binary pattern? How many bits we will have? We will have 24 bits, right? So the first bit will be 1. Then again, we have many zeros. And then again, the last fourth bit is 1. Then we will have x squared, x power 1, and then 1. Over here in between, we will have how many zeros? So total 24. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 19 zeros in between. So this is the polynomial representation. So the degree of the polynomial is 1 less than the number of bits in the pattern. So total, if we have 7 bits, the degree of the polynomial will be x power 6. Now, how do we whenever we are talking about adding and subtracting the polynomials, so the same in mathematics, how we do it the same way. And addition and subtraction are the same. For example, if we are adding the two polynomials here, x power 5 plus x power 4 plus x square and x power 6 plus x power 4 plus x square, then adding or subtracting is done by combining terms and deleting the terms. For example, in the case of adding, it will give us x power 5 plus x power 6. These two terms are deleted. So in this case, what we do is adding x power 5, x power 6, these two polynomials. If we add, for example, 3 polynomials and we get x square 3 times, so what we do is we delete 2 of them and keep the third. Okay. So now multiplication and division is the same. That is, if we are multiplying x power 3 and x power 4, then what do we get in the normal mathematics is x power 7. Similarly, if we are dividing x power 4 by x power 3, then we get x. So these two are the same thing. Now, after that, so add XOR remainder Rx to M of x, and any expression is a term evenly divided. Now, error detection performance of cyclic redundancy. So basically, when we are talking about error detection, single bit errors are 100% detected, double bit errors 100% as long as the generating polynomials has at least 3 ones. Now what is it, the generating polynomial? That is basically a divisor. Now odd number of bits 100% again, and these are the different performances of error burst. Now next is common cyclic redundancy polynomials. So these are actually the polynomials that we generally use. So they are used here. We have CRC12, which is written in this way: x power 12 plus x power 11. And next we have CRC16, which is used for your HDLC protocol. CRC32 is actually used in LANs. And then we have the ATM CRC. These are some of the standard polynomials, CRC polynomials that are used. Now the next topic is flow control and error control protocols. So basically, as we know that we are studying the data link layer, and the most important responsibility of the data link layer, as we have seen already, error control is basically error detection and error correction. And another thing we have over here is flow control and error control. So these functions together are known as the data link control. Now what is flow control? Flow control is basically, it refers to the set of procedures used to restrict the amount of data that the sender can send, okay, before waiting for an acknowledgement. So whenever we are talking about the flow control, it coordinates the amount of data that can be sent. So every time whenever the sender is sending the data, the receiver needs to acknowledge the data. So here the flow control is basically, the sender knows how much data should be sent before it receives an acknowledgement. Suppose if it is sending 3 frames, so the sender will know that after 2 frames I should receive an acknowledgement. So it will send 2 frames and wait for an acknowledgement. If it does not receive, then either it may send the frames again, or it may wait for an acknowledgement for some amount of time. So in most protocols, flow control is a set of procedure that tells the sender how much data it can transmit before it must wait for an acknowledgement from the receiver. The flow of data basically should not overwhelm the receiver. That is, the receiver should not be able. The receiver should be able to process the data, because any receiving device will have limited speed at which it can process the incoming data. So, and it will also have, basically the receiver will have a limited speed. Any network or any host device will have limited speed, and it will have a limited memory. So to process the incoming data, the data should be sent at a speed at which it can process it. So for that reason, after some amount of data, the receiver will send an acknowledgement that yes, I have received the data and I have processed it. So incoming data must be checked and processed before they can be used. So the rate of such processing is usually slower than the rate of transmission. So for that reason, we have this flow control protocols. And what is error control? Error control is basically, in the data link layer, it is both responsible for error detection and error correction. So it allows the receiver on an automatic repeat request, which is the retransmission of data. That is, if there is an error in the data, then it is retransmitted. So in this case, error control is basically error detection and retransmission. And anytime an error is detected in an exchange, specified frames are retransmitted. So suppose if an error is detected, then what will happen is automatic repeat request is a process, automatic repeat request. So in this case, the frames are directly retransmitted. Whatever frames are missing or whatever frames have got an error, those are directly retransmitted. So this process is called as automatic repeat request. So now with this, I will conclude the flow control and error control topic. The rest of it, we will see it in the later lectures.